is with Priest for Life, and he joins us now. Father Pavone, this is Tim with Ed. Thank you for being with us.
Tim and Ed, it's great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Where are you today, sir?
I'm in New York City at our headquarters.
And tell us what Priest for Life is.
This is an effort to help all Christians to respond as effectively as possible to the urgent task of ending abortion in our culture, activating the churches especially, knowing that it is the church that has the divine guarantee to prevail over evils like this. So we work with priests, motivating the clergy, but with pastors and Christians of every denomination together in this cause for the unborn.
Since 1973, that's when Roe versus Wade was, pronounced, if you will, by the Supreme Court. And you're still on this subject. We've lost it. Why don't you quit?
Because when the abortion happens today, the babies who are killed today never died before. And so it's a brand new tragedy. It's sort of like saying, when if a hurricane happens and people are killed, well, these hurricanes have happened for decades, for centuries, this is the same old thing. But of course, it's not the same old thing for the people who are affected today. And that's where the immediacy of this task for Christians arises, because there are new people today who are suffering or are in danger, and therefore it requires a new response.
Just to clarify, for anybody who may think, what in the world is Tim?
Tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, tongue-in-cheek there. I believe wholeheartedly we need to keep on keeping on, standing up for human life, and we are, we will. I tell people this is an eternal struggle, folks. This good versus evil is going to be here forever. It's never going to be fully won, and it's never going to be fully lost. And so we need to continue to stand for life and for God's values and for righteousness and those things that are important to the Lord and that Christians are supposed to stand for. And chief among them, certainly, Ed, would be championing the defenseless. In this case, unborn babies who are human,
right,
and have a right to life. And so we make some strides. I think we've made some strides over the years, but we continue to fight the good fight.
Well, and Father Pavone, it's very similar, I think. Of course, many have made this, drawn this parallel to William Wilberforce, for example, battling basically his whole life against the evil of slavery in the British Empire.
Yes.
And so when you and others spend the better part of their adult lives or their lives battling something that is such an egregious evil, it really is not only the Christian's duty, but God sets no time limit on fighting, as Tim said, on behalf of the defenseless and the battle for upholding God's truth concerning human nature.
Well, that's right. And, January 22nd is going to be exactly 40 years since this Roe v. Wade decision legalized child killing. And yet, in this time, the courts, first of all, have really weakened Roe v. Wade, have given us a lot more opportunities, especially on the state level, to slow down and in fact to stop many of the abortions from occurring from various kinds of regulatory laws they can pass. But also we see the tremendous amount of lives that have been saved through pregnancy centers, through preaching and teaching, through radio programs like this. Frankly, we always hear from listeners that I heard this show about abortion, and I talked to my friend and she changed her mind. It's happening every day. And opinion is moving in our direction. There are many reasons why we see signs of progress. And a moment like this, when we reach 40 years in this battle, is a moment for people again to both rediscover and recommit themselves to this tremendous cause.
Talking to Father Frank Pavone from Priest for Life. So people can still go. How do you have to register anything? Or you just show up in Washington for this March for Life?
Well, for the March for Life itself, people can simply show up. We gather at 12 noon on the National Mall, and there will be a rally of about an hour, and then there will be the march itself, which will head up Constitution Avenue and go by the Supreme Court and conclude shortly thereafter. So that is something wide open to the public. Now, many people have planned in advance bus trips, and so folks can check with their local churches, local Right to Life groups about buses that are going. There's probably still time for many of them to sign up to get a seat on the bus. But if they go down on their own, certainly it's a wide open thing for Friday, the 25th, and it's on the 25th, of course, because of all the inaugural events that will keep Washington pretty busy in those prior days.
Let me remind folks, I know most people listening to this program are pro-life and have been for a long time, but let me remind you that, while no Roe versus Wade has not been overturned, and I don't know when or if it will be, hope and pray that it will be one day. But, just because that has existed, that Supreme Court decision has existed, doesn't mean a lot of good hasn't been done in the 40 years to advance the cause of pro-life and defending unborn babies. And so there's been a lot of regulations put in place across the country by pro-lifers.
Exactly. Well, the status of the unborn child is increasing, and that's a direct result, first of all, of the fact that we know more about the child than we ever did before. We can visualize the child better than we ever did before, and the law is beginning in some small ways to catch up to that. And in fact, for the first time, a specific abortion procedure was in fact prohibited just a few years ago under the Bush administration. This terrible partial birth abortion procedure. Now, every abortion is equally offensive to God and to humanity, but when Congress acts and the Supreme Court upholds their action to ban a specific form of abortion, then we are on our way to reversing this wide open policy that allows abortion at any time for any reason.
Father Pavone, do you think, you mentioned being able to visualize the baby in the womb. Do you think this 3D, 4D technology has kind of turned the tide in terms of public opinion?
It certainly has, both in terms of the direct outreach, for example, that the pregnancy centers do when those who are thinking about abortion see that baby, then we see upwards of 70, 80%, sometimes more, of these young women changing their minds, but also just in the day-to-day culture. I mean, now it's commonplace for one's first earliest photos of their life to be the photos of themselves in the womb. And so we have this imagery is now incorporated into our day-to-day life, and that certainly is changing opinion. In fact, we have a project whereby we're promoting visual imagery of the child that was obtained from direct video imaging of the child, a video camera inserted into the womb, a process called embryoscopy, and we have now educational videos that schools can use and centers can use to show the child in living color, moving and growing in the womb, stretching and yawning, and it's just incredible. It's impossible to deny at that point that this is one of us, and that's how the change is occurring.
Well, Father Pavone, thanks so much for being our guest. Appreciate your work with Priests for Life, and wish you a great March for Life coming up, and we'll keep on keeping on.
That's right. Thank you so much for your commitment and for having me today.
All right, very well. Next up, continuing our theme, we're going to have Pat Layton on from Florida. She's founder and president of Life Impact Network. She's got a powerful testimony she's going to share. So we look forward to talking to her. Thank you for listening, as always, to the American Family Radio Network and to this program, Today's Issues. We shall continue momentarily. We'll see you back in a couple of minutes.